Hello, my name is Devon Perry, and today I'll be presenting my Anatomy and Physiology 1 paper disease, which is diamond black fan anemia. Oh, and before we get started, I will have my PowerPoint over here, and my phone is here because I have a dry erase board underneath recording that, so I can put these both on the video on the left and right sides while I'm talking to you here. Okay, so let's get started. What is diamond black fan anemia? Well, it is inherited bone marrow failure syndrome, as the bone marrow fails to make red blood cells. It was first discovered in the 1930s by Dr. Louis Diamond and Dr. Kenneth Blackfan, hence the name diamond black fan anemia, because this is a severe case of anemia in newborns. It affects 5 to 7 per million newborns worldwide. As far as the inherited part, it is an autosomal dominant inheritance pattern, in which case the dad, on the PowerPoint, the dad has one bad copy and he has the disease. This is basically the same thing as your Ponnet that you learned in this class, or you've done it before. Hope I'm a bad jar though. This box here. Wait, since it's dominant, big B will be the condition that have the disease, and little b will be the good copies of the gene. And big B, little b, little b, little b. Which leaves a 50% chance out of 4 kids for them to have the disease. But I've done a little bit more research and dug into this and found a case where a son had was homogeneous for the disease, in which case his was very severe. And in this case, since he was homogeneous for the disease, the father and mother were heterogeneous, and the dad was homogeneous for the disease also. But this contradicted everything that I had read through the research papers until I saw this case. In fact, that they both did not have the disease, but that led me to think that since the cases of diamond black fan anemia vary per person, they just had a less severe case in which their bone marrow was still functioning correctly. But who knows? Waiting for further research on that to have a 100% accurate statement. Yeah, dominant inheritance pattern, but I've seen a contradiction. Let's move on to the pathogenesis of diamond black fan anemia. The lineage of a red blood cell starts with a stem cell. But in this process, there seems to be a blockage. And let's look closer at that blockage point. The blockage point is believed to be between the BFUE and TFUE cell lineage of the red blood cell. It occurs somewhere around here. Blockage. The blockage. Well, and scientists believed this to be the case for a little while, and they couldn't comprehend what was causing this blockage. And over the years, after they figured out how to diagnose the disease better, they ran into this here, the second bullet point on the PowerPoint, where there is a mutation in 65% of patients at the 65% of the patients have this mutation at the RPS19 gene, which is located on the 19th chromosome. The RPS19 codes for ribosomal proteins. Why is this important? Because we have a favorite organelle called the ribosome, that helps with the synthesis of proteins. And yeah, polypeptide RNA coming in. This is a ribosome. And this RPS19 codes for the 40S subunit of the ribosome. Why is this important? Why would something going wrong with the ribosome cause a big fuss about red blood cells? Well, transcription, translation help with differentiation and appearance of traits. So this 40S subunit has a malfunction somewhere which stops the stem cell in the bone marrow differentiation to the red blood cell. In which case, it does qualify for the mechanism of diamond black fan anemia. And this has been tested to be true on mouse experiments where a mouse had a point mutation of the let's say this T is transformed into a C. If this is the RNA, you know, that's why I asked the U. And when this is red, then this causes the malfunction in the RPS19 gene. And this is enough to cause the disease, just a point mutation. Like in the experiment with the mouse, it caused the mutation under conditional when it was not expressed continuously. It caused growth retardation, similar symptoms, severe anemia, just like black fan anemia causes. So that gene is being studied now. Also, the continuous expression led to it being lethal, because with no red blood cells, meaning that no feasible red blood cells means that tissues and organs are gonna shut down, obviously. And yeah, that's the supporting for the pathogenesis of diamond black fan anemia. Now, we're going to move on to treatment here, where treatment is broken down into 3 categories. Corticosteroid therapy, which 37 people are getting, and blood transfusion, continuous blood transfusions that are accompanied with iron detoxification. 30% of patients are getting that. Bone marrow transplants are 9%, then 9% are in remission, and 9% are deceased. This is based off of the diamond black fan anemia registry. And let's begin with corticosteroids, because this one gives the patient the opportunity to live a normal life per se. The patient is given steroids to induce the bone marrow to produce its own red blood cells. Most patients respond to this at an 80% chance and a 20% non-responsive rate. But the caveat to that is that you have to wait until after the patient is 1 to administer this treatment. But until then, while the patient is younger than 1, or because they fail to respond to the steroid treatment, they have to receive blood transfusions. But let's talk about the side effects of corticosteroid therapy. Corticosteroid therapy side effects, well, main side effects are growth disturbances, muscle weakness, problems with the eyes, diabetes. These are long-term side effects. But also, unfortunately, when you're using corticosteroid therapy, it's unfortunately common for the patient to have a side effect to it. Moving on to blood transfusions. Blood transfusions are basically where they get a donor's blood transfused into them. They can take 10 to 12 transfusions before they need an iron detoxification. Because the patient isn't making their own red blood cells, they're lacking the necessary components to transport in the body. And iron can build up in the blood, which can cause problems for them, which is the complication for the blood transfusion. And they would be doing these for the rest of their life and getting the iron detoxifications. And carrying on to bone marrow transplants, allogeneic transplant is the type of bone marrow transplant acceptable for diamond black fan anemia, because they need a genetic match or a relative/sibling to donate their bone marrow to cure the disease. It's a curative treatment, actually, in which they can be good for the rest of their life with the bone marrow transplant. And with the bone marrow transplant, the only condition that would be unacceptable is that it's risky because the bone marrow transplant requires them to take an immune system repressor, as the body could attack the new bone marrow cells that have been placed in there. But this opens the doorway to other diseases and infections. The life expectancy with these 3 treatments in place is 40 to 58 years old, which is pretty good compared to it being lethal and letting organs and tissues die out on you. And for questions, I'm gonna look for some tough ones and answer them for you guys, and just post them at the end of this video. But thank you for watching. Make sure you're using your mask and keep your hands clean. Bye.